going to talk about doing a little spring prep, basically getting ready for the open water season that's coming up here real shortly and getting on the water and doing a little fishing. First thing I'm going to talk about is actually re-spooling my rods and reels with new lines so that I'm ready to get out there this spring and hopefully catch a whopper. It's something that I do every year, every spring. I'll go through and pull all the rods and reels out of the boat, and I want to strip off all the old line that I've been using the last year and replace it with new lines. So hopefully when I get that bite that's maybe the trophy of a lifetime, I don't lose it because I've got old line or bad knots or whatever. So I'm going to show you what I do, and I've mentioned before I get pretty particular about what I do, and I do everything a certain way because I think it's the best way possible to do it. So what I've got here now is one of my jigging rods, one of my jigging setups. This rod right here is a Swate Brigade black label reel and spinning rod. The rod is 6'3", 6'3" extra fast action. And what I've done on with these reels is I've actually put backing line on. As you can see, looking at the a bare spool here, you can actually see where they've got a rubber or a thing built onto the reel that's supposed to keep things slipping. But typically what I do is I'll put backing on here to the point that I can then put like 100 to 125 yards of the fire line, which is what I like to use for jigging, so that I don't have to fill the whole spool full of the fire line, because the fire line's a lot more expensive than the monofilament backing that I use, and that way I can get by with 125 yards and replacing the 125 yards every year. So you'll see what I've done here in this reel. This is a Brigade black label, and what I've done is I've actually spooled this up with a 10-pound Berkeley XT monofilament. That's this line here. And on this Brigade black label 1000 series reel, I've actually put 43 cranks of this backing onto this reel to get it filled to the point where I can then put my 100 to 125 yards of fire line on it and have my spool filled to where I want. That makes the thing cast really well. I get more line per crank of retrieve, and it just works really well. So again, I've got the 10-pound XT monofilament backing. I've got 125 yards, and in this case I'm actually using a Berkeley fire line. It's called Ultra 8 in a 6-pound test. It's a great line for jigging. That's pretty much all I use anymore. The advantage of the fire line is it's super sensitive. It's a thinner diameter, so it works really, really well. The downside of the fire line is it's got no stretch to it. So what I do for the terminal end of this is I'll take my fire line main line that I'm using, and then I'll set this up with actually a leader that I'll take a small, in this case a little fluorescent green bead, stick on fire line, and then I'll take a 2 to 3 foot piece of fluorocarbon leader, what you'll see in this case, it's 15-pound test, and use that as a leader. Now I've got that tied on to a little barrel swivel here, and then you'll see what I do is I'll just take and tie this barrel swivel onto my fire line using what they call a polymer knot. You put the line through, bring it back through again, so you've essentially created a loop, and kind of let the whole thing just hang down here. There's my barrel swivel, there's my tag end, there's my loop right there. And then I do an overhand knot like I'm going to tie my shoe. Put that knot back through the loop that I created, or take the loop and put it back through the line, and then take whatever I'm tying on. In this case, I've got this monofilament or this fluorocarbon leader, and I've got a jig tied onto it already, and I pull that whole thing back through the loop that I just pulled through, so it comes up like this. Put that whole thing back through that loop, and then just snug everything up nice and tight. And one of the reasons I do this is because when you're tying lines like this, and particularly when you tie the fire line to your setup, the polymer knot's not going to slip. So then I moisten this a little bit so we don't build up the friction from the thing, and just pull it all up nice and tight, and then we're good to go. And this basically creates what I would consider my absolute favorite jigging setup. Just take the scissors or a clipper and snip off the tag end here. And then what you got is what I would consider the perfect setup for jigging for walleyes. We got the 6.3 extra fast Swate Brigade spinning reel with a 1000 series black Brigade spinning reel. Hook this on the keeper like that, and then we've got here what I think is, in my mind, the perfect setup. And if you're interested in this rod and reel combination, you stop down again any of the North 40 Outfitter stores. They've got these in hand on stock, and it's a great setup for a really good value and price. So if you got any questions or need any further information, just stop by any of the North 40 Outfitter stores or check the website at north40.com. Thanks for watching and hope to see you again. Thanks.